Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new feature focused. Uh, Finally, I think I got all my ducks in a row. And from now on, we should be able to have a much more elegant stream worthy of you guys. So, uh, I've been debating as to what to cover this week. I feel like we've already covered the system settings. Last week, we did all kinds of system syncs. So we had media sync, frame locks, syncing content across multiple machines. Let's see. We have a request: patch that takes a complete output of one fixture as a layer in another fixture. That is that is the answer is yes. Um, can we save this for Friday? So Fridays at 5, I'm hosting the happy hour, and the idea is bring a drink or whatever you do, and dare me to make crazy stuff such as take an output of a fixture and put it in a layer, which um, actually there is a simple way to do that. And you know what? Let's cover that. Uh, because there is a lot of really fun tools in uh, I'm losing my words here. There is a really easy way to get that done simply by using your layer properties. It's actually embedded within the layer controls. So let us go to let's go there. Okay. So the feature that we're looking for is inside your layer properties. We have a number of useful little tools. So in this case, let us have a second fixture. And the idea of having two fixtures is so that we can just get a little funky with it. We're going to control C to copy properties from the first screen, and we'll paste them on the second screen with control V. I believe yeah, you can see down here on the bottom right of the GUI, you'll be able to see my mouse and also the keys that I hit so that you can try to follow along if it helps. Um, okay, so let's go ahead and move this puppy here to the left, this puppy to the right. And for reference, we're going to call the screen on the left Fixture 0. And the one on the right, we'll call it Fixture 1. Now, I'm not just trying to be all fancy schmancy. That just happens to be, if you select the actual fixture, you'll be able to see that the properties for that particular fixture, say fixture underscore 0, and then the next one will be 1. And if I keep adding fixtures, it'll just add fixture 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same thing with projectors and all that stuff. This is important to track because for some of the features that we're going to be looking at today, it's important to understand how AI manages screens, layers, and so on. So with that said, let's put both of these on show canvas so that we are always, no matter what we have selected, being able to see that. And let's go. Okay. So fixture 0 selected. We're going to make that guy red here. And then remembering for all these purposes that I am using, by choice, bottom to top. That means that layer 0 is at the bottom of the stack, and layer 1, 2, 3, and 4 will, if we keep adding layers, will just stack on top of those. It's an important bit of information to remember. It's one setting available in AI that some other people have, I can't remember, but it's definitely one of my personal favorites because it allows that versatility. So, with that said, we'll make this layer red. We're going to make this guy here green. And for fun, let's get ourselves some. Let's get something that we can put on top. How about, I don't know, one of our fancy new. Let's get. Hey, let's put these guys on the deck. Why not? Uh, Poink. Just realized that you guys couldn't see that window. Here we go. And let's put generics. Nah, let's put a nice. Um, let's put a nice PNG here as well. Look at that. How pretty. Uh, while we get all set up, let's go ahead and say render those two files into AIM so that we have optimal workability. And while that's actually happening, we'll take a couple options here that I don't think we've gone into. So some of the things that you can do here in the performance page is, let's say that I want to select both layer 2s for both screens. So I can select 1 and 2, and you can see how both layers are selected on both fixtures, and I can select a clip that I want to play on those. Now, notice how the performance in this, they're not even close to being in sync. There's a reason for that. So, main reason is we're not playing AIM optimized files. These are actually ProRes 4444, 4444 with alpha and all that. And they're actually 4K files. So they're actually, it's taking a lot of work for the system to grab these files, play them back as optimally as possible for AI. So while we wait for these files to encode, actually, I think we can do it while it's encoding. So one of the fun features that we can do is, let's say that I want to sync this screen with that screen. One easy way to do that is for us to use the reference layer protocol, which is built into AI. If you go back to one of the earlier videos, you heard me mention that while your folder structure allows you to go from folder 0 to 255 for a total of 256 folders where you can put your content, you actually should only use from 0 to 239, giving you 240 folders to work with. The reason for that is that folder 240 and up become a reference layer. Where you're using the information from another layer or another fixture and putting it on that layer. What do I mean by that? In this case, I can say, hey, fixture 1, I want you to look at folder 240. So it's looking at folder 240, but the file is set to 0. So that will be layer 1 on fixture 0. If I change my file to 1, you see that now we're playing the same file on both. And they're actually in sync, because what the system is doing is, I'm reading the file once, I'm just sending it to multiple destinations. Make sense? I'm going to stop there for a second and just check with our comments if there's any questions on that part so far. Nope. Okay. So, by referencing this layer, it's super awesome, because that means that we could have content. Let's say, what's fun here? Let's grab some of these. Let's grab this whole folder. What the heck? We'll put this puppy right over yonder. This means that, let's say we wanted to grab this piece of content right here, right? And somehow split it in half. We could select both of these layers, zoom them, and then grab only one layer and move it. I think this will be easier with bars now that I think about it. But you're probably seeing that snap and crossfade change, and I'll address that in a second. Hey, Patrick. So the idea here is you can do that, and I can select my layer 0, and let's go ahead and grab the X position, and we'll move this puppy right over here, so it's right at the end of that, and this guy actually 0.75, so this should be 0.25. Haha! Look at that. Now if I play any piece of content on the first layer, the second layer is just going to be completely in sync. It's not actually a second layer, it's the same piece of content, and it's just being split between both bits. Any questions on that bit? That little part? All right, so now what happens if I actually wanted to select the content on fixture 1 or fixture 2, 3, 4? Basically, what you want to remember is that folder 240, 240, is going to reference everything on fixture 0. So 241 references fixture 1, 242, fixture 2, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. To change layers between those, then all you have to do is basically select a different file number, as we mentioned before. 0, 1, and so on. Okay, now let's go ahead and reset these two layers to their default values. And we'll set the defaults. Now, since we're here, let's go ahead and let's add 2 more layers. Just so that we can get real creative here. This time, we're going to do it the other way around. We're going to build a look on fixture 1, and we're going to somehow shift it over to fixture 0. So, fixture 1, let's go ahead and find, yeah, this is a great little piece of media right there. Awesome. Then that'll be our background. I say in front of that, we'll put, that has black, and this has alpha, so that's what we want. Pretty. Oh, how pretty. And what else? We are going to put, hey, let's comp this up. Let's go ahead and put a nice new logo in there. Shameless branding. We will put this on centered. That way we can zoom it any way we want. And let's go ahead and put this guy here in the top left. X and Y position. Awesome. And what else can we do with this? Let's add a 4th layer. Let's do something we can get funky with. Ooh, I know. Let's do and that way we get to tease some dynamic content. Well, let's go ahead and turn this on. Let's turn that off for a second. And let's open some text. We're going to build a little text file. Why? Because we can. And you guys have nothing better to do. You're stuck at home with me. Let's call this Hello World. Can't help myself. Dun, dun, dun. Hit enter, so that takes. And let's see if we have a font that's on brand. Unfortunately, this engine is not using open type fonts or true type fonts for that reason. but you have to load a bitmap font, which they come preloaded in our system. I think Aaron has a tutorial on how to convert this from a regular type font to a none. Uh, yeah, I'm happy with that. Actually, let's make it white. That way, we can color it later. Beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and save that as a patch. We'll put it on the desktop. We'll call this hello. Doink. Beautiful. We can now turn all this off. Go back to our performance page, and we'll drag and drop this bad boy right here, and put that on layer 4. I'm also going to take this opportunity to try to break this because dynamic content hasn't always been the easiest to work with. So we're going to take this opportunity to also raise any flags if you should. Well, there it's in the way, so let's go ahead and move this here. Doink, and maybe down. Whoa. We'll put it right here. Hey BJ, it is documented in the manual. I'm just showing the way to do it here. And let's go ahead and color that. Yeah, that's what we wanted. Cool. So, as I said, we've gone ahead and covered this all up. It's set up the way that I want it. Now, I want to do the exact same everything that I have here, but in a single layer over on fixture 0. So let's go ahead and select the layer that we want to put it on. We'll keep, you know what, we will keep this background layer red for reference, and we'll put that on layer 3. So we're going to go ahead and select our folder, 241. And instead of so just actually this is great because we get to check each layer. So file 0 would be our background. Then next would be our feature focused. Next would be our creative integration TV logo, and lastly our dynamic text. Now notice how all of those are being referenced, but none of the transformations are actually being taken into consideration. All we're taking is just the raw texture, which is why when we crossfade files, for example, so if we were to go here to fixture 1 and select that guy, and let's take this other file, you're not seeing the smooth crossfade on the first one. It's the only downside that I found of that. So let's go ahead and put something nicer again. Yeah, cool. So if we want to take the entire contents of that fixture in a single layer, what we want to do is go over to File, 200. And that gives us like our entire final mix. The nice thing about the final mix is that it actually takes the entire final rastered output, which allows us to crossfade the entire content, everything that's going on in there. Does that make sense? I'm going to take a couple seconds, read the comment section. Hello to everyone that just tuned in. We got BJ in the house. Senor Cade. Adam Davis. What's up? Any questions on this whole reference layer and reference fixture? Okay. Since no one's piping up, I say we move on and we find the salvation way of referencing this stuff. Since someone, Chris, wants to play with salvation on this, let's go ahead and try and do that. I'm going to switch over to sweet. This way we have a bit of a bigger work surface over there. Okay, what are we looking for? We have our stage patch here. And so we want to start referencing some stuff within salvation. I got a white layer. If you're getting a white layer, make sure that you are referencing the right folder and file, remembering that folder 240 references to fixture 0, 241 is fixture 1, and then layer, if you have your file at 0 is layer 1, file at 1 is layer 2, and so on and so forth. And if you want to get the entire comp, or the final mix of all the layers together, is file 240. Sorry, file 200. Enjoy that popping. It'll take a couple more seconds. Okay, so let's add a bit of salvation fun in here. There is a number of ways of referencing or sucking in texture and raster information from everywhere. Most of that it's going to be right here under the import. So if we right click on the stage patch and say insert module import, under import we'll have pretty much anything that says fixture canvas texture, layer texture reference, especially if it says reference. It's particularly interesting for us with what we're trying to do. So fixture canvas texture, let's go ahead and put one of those right there. Insert module and import. Let's go ahead and put a layer texture reference. Insert module import and render reference. That one's always fun. Insert module. Let's see what else we can import that way. Import texture reference. We have that. Render reference, right? Oh no, we don't have texture reference. Let's go ahead and put that as well. Insert module. Import. I wish I could have. Actually, I'm gonna put this as a feature request. In Salvation, every time you pop, I want to have the option of putting like a cute little sound effect for the interface. There's got to be a way to do it. I'm sure there is. I'll ask Trey. I think those are all the importers. I don't think we want to get into some of these guys that allow you to. Man, this goes so deep because you can even suck values from ports and identifiers and variables. All right, so let's just cover all of these importers or referencers real quick. Let's start with the fixture canvas texture. So this one, I find it really convenient and easy to use because in a nutshell, what it does is it grabs the canvas output out of fixtures and sends that out. So if I assign this to, say, fixture 0, I'm pressing shift and hovering over the port, and I can see the texture that's coming out of that. And actually, let's make those now different colors. So I'll select this, and let's go ahead and hue rotate that. Sure, so that we can tell them apart. And now go back to stage patch, right? So now if I hover over this guy in 1, in 0, if I change that to 1, there we go. Actually, let's go ahead and build a window for that. GL window, working too hard. Insert module, generate rectangle, and we'll fit this guy there. Let's go ahead and pop that window somewhere. Sure, that's nice. Actually, here's a nice thing, because I get asked this a lot sometimes. So here, we'll feed this texture real quick. Now, you can see now that the aspect of this window is not necessarily 16 by 9. It's fairly freeform in there. And because I'm feeding a texture and we have this letterbox setting on it, if I, sorry, wrong border. If I start resizing this, it's kind of fitting it. And that's nice and easy. But we can also set this to say like crop. And now it's going to try to send you the texture at its actual resolution. And then as you know, it's kind of like filling, very much like the crop aspect mode. That's what they are. And we could do stretch. We'll just fit it whichever way we want to. But sometimes we want to get some pixel accurate windows, or at least something that's more easily referenceable, or if we want to get a very specific size window. So for that, you can actually right click on the window, window, and select window resize. You have a variety of preset resolutions, like say 720/480, and that way you can get some really quick aspect ratios on that. Let's go ahead and put this back into letterbox. And if I wanted to say window resize, what would be 16:9? That's it. So that's a 16:9 aspect pop-up window right there. Beautiful. Cool. So 0 and 1, we've covered that. Awesome. Let's go ahead and take our next texture reference. So we'll come here. Now, this one is a little more elegant in that it's giving us 2 ports of control. So we have a chance for a layer index and specify layer index and fixture index. So for that, we're going to go ahead and insert a couple of constant modules. Let's use a right click, load alternate skin, and select the text version of it, and we'll control copy and paste. And that way we'll have one value for the layer and one value for the fixture. And if we specify, yay, that's working. Here we can say, hey, I want you to reference the texture that's going on in, say, here. And there you go. Layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4. Easy. You notice though, if we try to reference a reference layer, so in this case, if we're trying to reference fixture 0, layer 3, right? So fixture 0, layer 3, no information's patched in because it's already been referenced in. So there's no way to reference a reference. That, I mean, you could, but not this way. You'd have to create that reference somewhere, like in a patch, and then reference that hard patch. When you do it, if you try to do it in this particular section, as in trying to reference a layer, because layers are actually using a bit of code. Not the entire transaction is not 100% salvation based, but there is a lot happening in code. That is actually part of the reason why. Cool. So we've tested that one out. We're gonna do, before we get to that one, we'll do this one here. This one is fun in a way because it allows us to just, instead of, it doesn't have to be an actual layer, it doesn't have to be an actual fixture. It's just gonna take any reference that we give it. This one's fun. It requires a little bit of more of a knowledge into salvation, only because you need to understand how to type or where to find the texture that you're trying to recall. So in this case, we'll add a text box in the shape of a notepad. Let's go ahead and make this guy just bigger. Point. Sure, that should be big enough. That's what he said. And awesome. So, how to explain the navigation and the text that we need to put in here? I think the best way, it's going to be to open the stage patch inside of the GUI. Only because by being here, you're now able to see at the very top sort of the navigation of where we are. So UI is a user interface, stage patch, which is where we are currently. That is the view that we're in. If we switch into, say, Mixer, you'll see how now we're in Mixer 1, and then further deep we can go layer 1, and from there we can go into a media player and find, any particular of the screen ports that we want to reference. So with that, we can right-click. If we're trying to navigate inside here, you'd right-click and say Show Parent Patch, Parent Patch again, Parent Patch again, and that's how we navigate backwards in this view. Now, if I wanted to reference Fixture 0, it will be as / you actually, I think here, Fixture _0, my caps are wrong, and that actually is not a good thing. Fixture _0, and that's just taking that green output, right, the canvas output from the Fixture 0. I could change that to Fixture 1. Sweet. The reason why I don't have to type the entire path is because everything lives from here. Like everything right now has the same root, so I don't have to go so deep into that. But for example, I could, talk about referencing a reference. This is a great way to do it. I could say fixture, canvas, texture. Let's learn how to type. And see if that works. That works. So right now, this reference is referencing this reference. It's referencing this green port right here. Does that make sense? Now, I gotta be careful not to create a memory loop. But I'm gonna stop for a second and just make sure that everyone got that. Basically, what this allows us to do is just reference any address or any green texture port in the system. So, for example, if you really, really want it, you could go as far as go into layer. No, not in this fixture though. Here's a good one. We're gonna insert module import live video and select what camera am I not using? I'm not using the 920. And I think now let's see, is that a texture? No. That is neither. That is, I gotta bind that. I have to add, you know what? No, we're not gonna go down that path today. That's a really dark, deep hole to go into on class number 2. Is there a console log where you can list all texture ports in the entire software? I actually no. The short answer is no, just because um, a texture port can be a texture port can go so deep as to. Here's an example. Let's go in here. We're inside of a layer. And then from the layer, let's go into layer operations. No, my bad. Into media players. And so most of the operations that happen in a media player, I believe they happen as a texture. So any given layer has access to about 8 different textures at any given time between NDI inputs and spout, uh, live cameras, and in between them, this is where it gets really messed up. In between them, you will find. Do we really want to go that deep? Yes, why not? Uh, you'll find these other operations that are taking place. Now you can. So, for example, you could reference. You have a texture that goes into an effect, and then from there it'll go into another rectangle, and that becomes just another version of the same feed. So you can have it before it gets affected or after it gets affected by an effect. So the list is both. I want to say that that list would be extremely long, and it would be both very. There's the two extremes. There's bits of it that would never change, and there are things that are going to change every millisecond, every frame of video. So that's why I think the answer to that is and should be no. Um, we can certainly ask if you're really interested. But there's no real console log um, that that I know of. Anytime that I've tried to get like extract some of that information, it there's really no way to pull it out. Just because remember that there is no flat code managing all of this. Salvation is managing all of this, or at least the majority of the code is being managed. Salvation in itself, it's a code, so that's why. Okay, so um, moving on. Then the last type of reference module that we have is an even more complex one because this one is taking not just a texture but an entire render chain final mix and from bit of render data. So in this case, I could specify, say, mixer. Ooh, 0. And sometimes, okay, mixer, did I spell that right? I think I did. Now, the mixer requires me to select the last, I believe I have to, if I remember correctly. So I think I need to reference last port inside of that patch. So that would be dynamic content. Hmm. These ones are a bit more tricky. Stage patch. Hmm. Ooh. Whoops. Control Z. Thank you. Hmm. Nope. So we'll go in here and select dynamic content because this patch in itself has a patch. So I'd have to reference the last port, and I think that will be a render merge. Or actually no. Even easier, maybe. As I said, this is part of the reason why those textures are not available, because there would be textures everywhere, but then each one of these would be a texture to find. And I just realized another problem with that is that most of those don't have. So mixer 1, let's navigate this way. Layer 1, let's try that. Layer space 1. And then inside of space 1, the final port of right before it gets outputted would be doink. Please let it not be another patch. It's probably going to be another patch. Oh, blend switch. Awesome. Let's see if that works. Haha! So that would be one of the problems that I see sometimes with this referencing through Salvation, is that you have to remember that textures, they flow really easily, because most texture modules or texture modification modules, they're pretty much in and out very easily. The yellow ports take a whole lot more of information, and because of their complexity, you often have to go into sub patches and understanding that entire signal flow. Now, with that said, you could say put. You're gonna make me do it. You could say grab a layer, put an effect on it, an OpenGL effect, and now have a patch that's referencing both the final mix of that and the original, and then somehow remerge them together so that now you have like the effect layer and the affected layer. Again, that's the beauty of Salvation. Sky's the limit. But Chris, does that answer your question? Have I gotten anywhere close to where you wanted to get? Who else is hanging around? Patrick, your dongle shipped today. Thanks for your order. No, thank you. Awesome. See, I did say that we were going to start at very surface level and then go deep and deep and deep. What up, Cade? Was there a class from Avo this morning, by the way, Cade? Taking advantage that I have you right there. Doing 1,000 things. You shouldn't be doing 1,000 things. It's 2 hours into your session. That got very deep. Adam, were you able to figure it out what was wrong with bank holiday in the UK? Must be nice. Like, what's the point of bank holiday when the entire planet is in quarantine? I don't get it. It's like, hey, Easter Sunday. Oh, but wait, or Easter. What was it? Good Friday. Good Friday was a half day bank holiday, even though everyone's at home. I mean, I get it. Maybe that's the excuse to like not do a session that day, but here we are, hard at work. I didn't figure it out. I'm assuming it's because I have nothing in layer 4. That no, if you had nothing in layer 4, so actually let's go ahead and cover that real quick. Doink. Uh, let's go ahead and cover that because maybe because you don't have a layer 4, that could be it. So let's go back to take me out to the ballpark, right? So in this case, if I select that layer and I say, okay, you're going to start at 0. And let's go ahead and apply default on that. So 0 is our background. 1 is our nice logo. I'm going to clear the red so that doesn't get weird with the alphas. Right. So 1 is our feature focus logo. Then 2 would be our creative integration logo. 3 would be hello world, and 4 goes to white because there just isn't a layer to reference. So if you're seeing white, it's because you're referencing something that's not there. Because if you were referencing a layer, whether there's content on it or not, if there's no content on it, then you should get actually we can reference itself for 1 0. Let's try that, and let's clear layer 4 just to confirm that, because now you got me doubting myself. 240 0 1 2 3. Yeah, if there is nothing loaded in that layer, then it's gonna just pass through the alpha, which is the default state for a layer, is always to be on alpha. Okay, last 10 minutes. I can take another quick last minute request, or we can call it quits. Happy birthday, Aaron. Happy birthday. There's a lot of people. There are actually a lot of people's birthdays today. That's while we're here. Let's see. It's Aaron's birthday. It's also Yamil Sharif's birthday today. From YC3. Our good friends are YC3. It's Aaron's birthday. Who else? Who did we miss recently? Travis Crane, our friend Travis Crane. It was his birthday yesterday. And I thought there was more birthdays, but no, that's it for today. That's all the birthdays today. Now everybody wants to have their birthday during quarantine, so I can wish them happy birthday on the stream. Um, anyway, thank you everybody for watching. It's been my pleasure. Find me here on Mondays at 1 p.m. for the English version of this. Tuesdays at 12 Eastern, I'll be doing the Spanish version of this, probably around the same topic. Then Wednesday at 1, I'm doing preview post. This is the time, the 1 day a week when I try to recreate an entire show from scratch, whether I've been involved in it or not, whether they used AI or not, or anything. And it may not even have to be just like the media server operation part of it. Maybe we just try to recreate something of it with the resources that we have on hand. Then Thursday at 5:30, we have Control. This week we have Patrick Dearson, who will be joining us for a 1 hour long conversation interview. Should be quite interesting. And then finally on Fridays is my creative happy hour. This is where I get to drink and you get to torture me with weird requests like, hey, can we create a patch that does this? And then we'll add DMX control within the patch so that you doesn't doesn't use layer parameters, but instead you use other parameters. Or maybe it can be like hybridized control, where you can have like layer controls on MIDI and DMX. I don't know. Think about it from here till Friday. Torture me. Oh, Adam. So another quick question. In the layer adjustments, I accidentally closed FX1. How do I reopen it? You know what? That is one of those things where like you are kinda effed. But let's is it like you had this here and then by closing it we mean we hit the delete key and it went away? Wait, I thought that did they fix that? Ah. So if you just did it, you can hit Control Z to undo. If you just delete the one, you are in trouble. And if you did it like half an hour ago, it's even worse. But this happens. It happens. This happens a lot. So we're gonna do a quick deep dive into some salvation stuff, just real quick. That sounds like something we can do on Friday, Patrick. So system settings. We'll go here, and we're going to right click and show parent patch. And here we are looking for layer controller. So this layer controller is basically where those guys live. Sorry. So I've had people that are like, dude, I completely destroyed my show. I deleted this, and I don't like. I've been working on this file forever. There is no way that I could restart and redo all that. I'm like, okay. So the good news is that, well, the bad news is that it's gone forever. The good news is that we can replace it. And the way that we do that is we'll go, first of all, let's save this as messed up as it is. File, save as. We'll give it a name like, oh, I know. Oops. And now file, and we're going to open our starter file. So projects, launch project, launch it. We're going to go over to our system settings and do the same thing. Right click, show parent patch. And we're going to select that layer controller. Control C to copy. Now we can go ahead and close our launch project. And don't save. And then we'll come back here. Right click. Whoop. Close. Show parent patch. And delete the broken layer controller and replace it for a new layer controller. And in theory, maybe I should have closed that view. If you just re-trigger your performance page, it'll come right back. Yeah. Okay. That is the hour. Thank you everybody for coming, and I'll see you again real soon, as in tomorrow. Thank you.